Bernie Sanders claims that Israel has a right to exist as a Jewish apartheid state and laments the fact that Israel is now a pariah under the leadership of Benjamin Netanyahu. Bernie Sanders joined his fellow Zionist Dana Bash on CNN, and of course, she asked Bernie whether he supports Israel's right to exist as a Jewish apartheid state.
Do you believe in the notion of Israel as a Jewish state?
Yeah, I do, for a lot of reasons. But right now, what Netanyahu has done, what the Israeli government has done, is become almost a pariah state. And I fear very much that Israel now is looked in very, very unfavorable light by people all over the world, not just in the United States.
Bro, what? This is why you don't trust a liberal Zionist. Why would Bernie Sanders be lamenting the fact that Israel is almost a pariah state? Bernie Sanders, you sweet summer child, Israel is already a pariah state. And of course Bernie Sanders said yes to this batshit crazy question. Bernie Sanders grew up on a kibbutz. He's a Zionist to his core. Not only does Bernie Sanders oppose the Palestinian resistance, he actually condemns nonviolent resistance to the state of Israel as well, as he condemned the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. This is why Bernie Sanders spends his time lecturing and tone policing Ilhan Omar and Zohran Mamdani on how they should talk about Israel. The job of Bernie Sanders is to keep the left pro-Israel. Progressive accept Palestine, and liberal Zionism is no longer acceptable. Free Palestine from the river to the sea.
I'm trying to look, if you don't, excuse me, shut up. You don't have the microphone. You've asked, I don't want police officers here. No, I'm not going to arrest people, but are you going to allow us to have a discussion? What do you think?
Come down here. You're right there. Come down to be Democrat. So I can discuss it with people.
You asked me.
Occupied population has the right to resist.
All right. You're entitled to your view. You asked the question, I'm answering it. This is called democracy.
The European Union is essentially begging Donald Trump to take a potential peace deal with Russia. Trump and Putin is scheduled to meet this Friday to discuss a potential peace plan, and European leaders are freaking out over it. European leaders want Donald Trump to commit to having Zelensky attend the meeting and asserting Ukrainian demands. This is why I believe the European Union is secretly trying to tank this peace deal, because Zelensky is a deeply unserious actor and has been working against peace from day one. For example, Zelensky says he will never accept peace with any concession of Ukrainian territory, including Russia returning Crimea. Crimea is literally Russian. This demand that Zelensky made around Crimea is how you know he is deeply unserious about peace, and this is why Putin and Russia refuses to meet with him. Russia has also made it clear that they refuse to meet with Zelensky because he's an unelected, illegitimate leader. This is exactly why Zelensky is tanking potential peace plans. Zelensky wants to continue this war so he can cancel elections and maintain his grip on power. Russia even said that they will halt their war effort in order for Ukraine to hold elections. But Zelensky and the West don't want that to happen because people in Ukraine are tired of this war. Poll after poll shows that Ukrainians want peace. Meanwhile, the Zelensky regime is kidnapping men and forcing them to fight and die for NATO. Ursula von der Leyen, Keir Starmer, Lindsey Graham has made it 100% clear that they want to fight to the last Ukrainian, even if Ukraine doesn't have a chance of winning. Meanwhile, Zelensky is going along with his plan to destroy Ukraine in order to simply weaken Russia. Zelensky will go down as one of the most treasonous and incompetent leaders in modern human history. What's poppin', my friends? My family, we are back once again. The streak continues. Welcome to Nick at Prime Time. I have never seen, have you guys ever seen the person who is described as the victim of an invasion someone who is the smaller country fighting against a larger country. Have you ever seen this victim ever fight against peace as hard as Ukraine is fighting against it? What is that about? I thought Ukraine was the victim. Wouldn't it benefit them if the war ends? What does it say about the West that when they claim that peace will always benefit their enemies like Putin or Hamas? The best thing that we can advocate for Ukrainians, not only denazification and the end of the fascist Zelensky regime, but for peace, because they lost an entire generation of Ukrainian men. Meanwhile, EU leaders and people like Lindsey Graham, Ursula von der Leyen, they have said this on the record, as I laid out there. Their plan is to fight to the last Ukrainian, and they explain how this war is great for us because we can sacrifice a ton of Ukrainian lives while weakening our biggest geopolitical foe who we wanted to destroy for hundreds of years now, speaking from the European perspective. Europe always had this pathological hatred towards Russia, the fear of Russia. So they're like, let's sacrifice Ukraine, have Ukrainian men be kidnapped and drafted off the streets to fight and die for a war, because that can help us, because we can improve, boost the profits of our military-industrial complex, which the military-industrial complex have seen a boom in profits. Palantir, AI companies that help with targeting, they have seen a boom in profit. And I'm glad you mentioned this. I wish I could see more chats on solo streams, but I usually don't. I just saw this on the side of my eye. I was just about to mention, notice how like nobody in the NATO left ever talks about Ukraine. Like, you know that Bernie Sanders, and not even just him, because he's the obvious one, but the Bernie media industrial complex. Like, when have you ever seen like these Bernie supporters, like the Jenks, the Sam Cedars, the Hasan Pikers, who's featured on capitalist magazines? When have you ever seen them dive into the failure of their policies? Cori Bush, who many people on the left mourned when she lost, I didn't. You guys remember, I laughed hard because she voted to send billions of dollars that should have went to the hood in St. Louis. She voted to send money that should have went to our hood and send it to neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And the NATO left can't even justify their position. Jamal Bowman didn't even know what Crimea was. He didn't know what Crimea was. He didn't know what the Donbass was. But he was voting to fund and arm a war that they had no idea what was going on about. They were just taking orders from the establishment, which is why they deserve to lose. Which is why you couldn't catch me dead. Part of the pro-war progressive movement who support the self-determination of Ukrainians to fight and die for NATO. Oh, that's what Emma Vigeland said. She's like, I support Palestinian resistance. So if you support Palestinian resistance, you must support the CIA-groomed Ukrainian Nazis as well. No analysis of imperialism. Remember, they're the dumb left. Why would they have a systemic analysis of imperialism? Just go with whatever the party wants you to go. Anyway, let me get to the point, because the reason why I dog the NATO left so much is because they pretend they're the ones who care about Ukrainians. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders, Marianne Williamson, Ro Khanna, they couldn't give a damn that the majority of the Ukrainian people. Let me find this. Oh, here it is. I think I added this to one of my hotspots. That's why I will find it. Look at this. Ukrainian support for war effort collapses. Meanwhile, you have European leaders that's fighting against any concept of a peace deal against with Russia. You have Trump, and I'm going to explain this through the course of the stream, how he's actively working with the EU and NATO in order to sell the Ukraine war to the MAGA base. And this entire Trump-Russia summit is political theater for the neocons. so they can have an argument to bring home to their people on why war is justified. You guys understand? This is why Trump is doing this summit, right? Question me now, quote me later, because I'm going to show you guys throughout the course of this show. You have the Lindsey Graham. These are the people who are the real part of MAGA. They have Trump's ear. And they're telling him how we got to have security guarantees. We can't have any concessions on territory. We got to have Ukrainian get their land. They're saying stuff, and Trump is more happy to accept these framing of the argument in order to say to his supporters later that Russia is unreasonable for accepting these demands. You know how I know this? Because Trump has been making it obvious. Trump has been saying stuff that people think is pro-peace. And I understand why. He says, in order for there to be peace, we have to have a land swap. That's what Donald Trump said. Let's see if I can find the headline where he said that. Trump swap land. And Ukrainians, oh, here it is. Here's one headline I can show you guys. Look, Russia and Ukraine peace requires land swapping. Why would Russia swap land with Ukraine when they are winning? You guys see where I'm coming from? You guys see how Trump is setting up Putin and Russia to be the bad guy here? Well, they see, well, I think Zelensky should make a concession, and then Russia, who's winning, should make a concession that they have no reason to make. And then Trump is going to turn around when Russia is going to respond, because they have made this 100% clear that they will not give up any Ukrainian land that they seized. That has long been off the table. So now Trump is going to turn around like, hey, man, I thought we all said we got to swap land. Why won't you swap a little bit of land? You see the game that they're playing? Yeah, land swap. You guys see? I see Zoya in here. What's poppin', Zoya? Yeah, this is the peace summit in Alaska. Let me see what was Zoya. I'm sorry, when I do solo, I can't really look at the chat as much. I'll make sure I will read all the super chats. Sarah was going to join us tonight, but she had an emergency. She's a regular on RBN, so if she can't make it today, it's not a big deal. She will always join us another time. And let me read the super chat before I continue. Bernie thinks he's Eugene Deb, but he's more Michael Rappaport. Wait till I actually get to the video where he immediately condemns Hamas again. We will get to that here very soon. But the point I was making is, imagine Ukrainians want peace, and you have Western neocons, in order to boost the profit of the defense industry, fighting for war against the will of the Ukrainian people in support of a fascist Zelensky regime. Because Zelensky is forcing every single, I was about to say military-aged man, but that's not even true. Because they got senior citizens out there now. They probably have motherfuckers with pacifiers out on the battlefield at this point. So he is forcing his population to fight an unwinnable war so he don't have to have an election. Because Ukrainians realize that they're being used as pawns by the West and pawns by Zelensky. So Zelensky wants to block all election efforts. Any chance to have an election, you can have EU continue to prop him up as a person of power, and post-Ukraine war, Western Ukraine. So Zelensky don't really give a fuck about the end result. It's about protecting his power. And what's wild is you will have Democrats and liberals that will support Zelensky in doing this. And you hear this all the time. Zoya, don't they say this? They say, well, Zelensky has the right to cancel elections because it's in their constitution that if they are in war, they don't have to hold elections. This is the problem with liberalism. You guys see how liberals, they are willing to accept fascism as long as it's written down on paper first. As long as you write down that you're about to do some fascist shit, and then as long as you're doing it within decorum, as long as you're not breaking any laws or regulation, if you have written down fascism, liberals will defend it 1,000 times over. They will say, yeah, Zelensky banned opposition media. Yeah, Zelensky banned opposition political parties, but don't you know he declared Sharia law? It's legal. He made fascism legal. That's liberalism in a nutshell. We know, if you study the Age of Enlightenment, if you understand how real democracy is supposed to work, it is crucial to have elections during wartime. Russia had elections during war times. You had Middle Eastern countries getting bombed by the United States. Yeah, all these countries that have been through war who had elections, because through the Enlightenment era, we realized that kings and tyrants can provoke war. Hell, another example that I forgot. We had fucking elections during the Civil War. We have elections during wartime in America. The idea that you won't have elections during war is a barbaric, pre-enlightened point of view, because if you have kings and tyrants that are willing to go to war for political purposes, to take people into war that are unpopular, what mechanism do the people have to check the ruling class towards pursuing unchecked wars? Before the age of democracy, you had none. In the age of feudalism, there is none. In fascism, there is none. In the age of feudalism, if your king wants to fight and die because you want to take some territory in France, that's the fuck what you're gonna fucking do, or you're gonna get tortured to death. That honestly, that's how it's been for the majority of human history. This fascists control the state against the working class, against their people, and forcing them to fight and die for wars. So when we had our Age of Enlightenment, when people think about how to restructure society, we realize that it's good to have elections during war so the government knows whether the people approve of their war actions or not. That's why Russia was able to have an election during the war, and they was able to dominate because the Russian people are in sync with Putin's support of the war. Now, you had Western media that was openly saying that, oh, we can't have an election in Ukraine because what if we get a new leadership and they are pro-Russia? They were saying this stuff. To me, it's crazy the stuff they say out in the open and people don't puzzle this stuff together. Every single time the discussion of a Ukrainian election come up, that is the concern. What if there's a Ukrainian president that's not on the ball with us and they're more pro-Russia? What if this causes the end of the war effort? Russia, I need to find a receipt for this. Russia, they even offered to pause because Putin was the one who was calling for elections in Ukraine, and he's not willing to meet. And this is why he said he's not meeting with Zelensky. This is why they don't negotiate with Zelensky, because Zelensky is an unelected, illegitimate leader. So why would he meet with an unelected, illegitimate leader? So Putin has said he wants the Ukrainian voices to be heard, and they will pause all military action, and they will allow Ukraine to facilitate an election. But despite Russia saying this, the fascists in the West turn around and they say, well, we can't have elections. There's a war. We can't have elections. We have to have fascism. The West has officially lost their mind. Ukrainian support for the war effort collapses. Public sours on Washington. Loses hope for quick NATO exception. That last part is cope, because when you dive into these polls, a lot of Ukrainians are waking up to the fact that NATO in the West is using them as pawns. I guess that last part of the sub-headline kind of sum up the mentality that NATO was never really a viable option for Ukrainians. And a lot of them are just now realizing that NATO membership was something that was dangled in front of their face in order to lure Russia into a conflict with the West. So that's another reason why many people in Ukraine are turning against this war. So I had this headline for a while, and I actually didn't get into it because this is what I wanted to cover first. But there's a lot of background I always got to cover. What's popping? We got someone on the East Coast watching Nick in prime time. Maybe I should take some time to read some more chats. You know, I always want to read chats from Zoya's Love. Zoya's Life. Zelensky changed constitution to allow foreign corporations, oh Jesus Christ, to buy previously nationalized resources. Blackrock and Monsanto already own massive swaths that Russia captured, that's the land that U.S. wants. This is another reason why Zelensky is a traitor and another reason why he's a fascist. Like, there are people in the NATO left, like the TYT left, Hasan Piker left. They think we were being deflammatory when we say that Ukraine is a Nazi state. We are not. We understand what fascism is. It's the government-mandated suppression of the working class, the suppression of your enemies, the merging of corporation and state, the government-mandated crackdown of unions, because you guys know Ukraine banned collective bargaining rights. Meanwhile, people wonder why the ethnic Russians in eastern Ukraine, in Luhansk and the Donetsk region, wants to leave this fascist state, because they literally banned collective bargaining. This is the country that Bernie Sanders defends. Bans. You guys know I always like to show you guys receipts. I got receipts on top of receipts. I've been doing this shit for years now, bro. You guys have no idea how many receipts. I got receipts for days. I can find receipts on the fucking top of my head, bro. Here it is. Trade unions strongly oppose new law that undermines labor rights, collective bargaining, and democracy. This is the country that Bernie Sanders and the NATO left viciously defends. Meanwhile, they can't stand Russia. Bernie Sanders had Putin derangement syndrome. Dr. Cornel West doesn't like Russia. None of these social democrats like Russia. Russia provides paid maternity leave to their working class. You know, something that was vetoed by the Missouri legislator, even though Missouri voters voted for it. So in America, we voted for paid maternity leave, and they vetoed it. Meanwhile, they have that in Russia. Meanwhile, Bernie Sanders will turn around and tell you that Russia is an authoritarian capitalist hellhole. No, Russia is more of a social democrat country. It's what they want. It's not a communist country. It's not a socialist country. It's a capitalist country. But social democracy is capitalism. It's capitalism with a strong social safety net. So how are you going to hate on a country that has a system that you failed to deliver at home? Obviously, I want full-blown communism, but how many times have I said that if you're honest, anyone who's honest will say, even if you're a communist, that at least having a thick social safety net is better than neoliberal capitalism. That's essentially what Russia is. But you notice how the democratic socialists and the Western leftists, they will praise the imperialists enabling Sweden and Finland, who engage in imperialism in Africa, who supports NATO. They will praise Finland and Sweden all day, but they want you to hate Russia. That old boomer Cold War mentality that's still strong among Western leftists. A new law deprives as many as 70% of Ukrainian workers of labor protections, including their bargaining rights. And bro, when have you ever seen Bernie Sanders, Hasan Piker, Zoran Mamdani? When have you guys ever seen the progressive left ever raise up the issue of fascism in Ukraine? So when we say that there's Nazis in Ukraine, guys, we are not being inflammatory. I am not saying it for clicks, because what is the first thing that Hitler and the Nazis did in Germany? One of the first things they did was go after communists, ban unions, ban the right to collective bargaining, and they immediately went after labor, even before they went after the Jews. So when we say that Ukraine is a Nazi state inspired by Nazi Germany, it's because the direct historical parallels that the dumb left ignores. All right, so you guys know I enjoy my rant sessions on Nick and I, but let's see where I leave off at. Believe it or not, this is supposed to be my starting article, but I jumped around everywhere. There's a lot to discuss here. Let me read what Zoya had to say, because Zoya is our Russian expert. from the USSR. In Russia, home ownership is very common, with roughly 9 out of 10 people owning their homes. That's 90%. 90%, despite the fact that the average Russian salary is way lower than the American salary. And you will hear liberals say this all the time because this is how capitalists justify their broken system. They will explain how, don't you know, in America, we have a much higher salary. We make much more money than they do in Russia. Don't you know in Russia, they make way less than we do? They make half what we do. Meanwhile, they can raise a family. They can afford health care. They can afford a home. Why do capitalists think this is a fucking flex? Bragging that your people have money, but can't fucking effectively raise families, can't afford homes? Essentially explaining how your money gets you nowhere in a capitalist society is not the flex you think it is. You dumbasses. How many times don't you know? You shouldn't be praising Russia. They make way less money than us, but they got health care. They got paid maternity leave. They have home ownership. I need to look into. I don't know. I gotta be careful, but I don't see a lot of Russia homelessness. I'm not gonna pretend I researched it a lot. Let me see Russia. I would say for a fact though that Russia homelessness does not have any homeless like the United States. I gotta be careful, but I don't want to be hyperbolic, but I know it's not. You're not seeing Skid Rows in Russia. I see many footage of Moscow. I'm not seeing like the Walking Dead that like we see with these people who've been abandoned by the capitalist class. In the capitalist class, they don't even think about doing anything systemically to change it. They say, no, let's just ramp up the police state. Let's make it illegal to be homeless. Let's spend a lot of money on anti-homeless infrastructure instead. All right, let me actually get into the story now. That's a good intro rant. So my thesis I made, and I said this in the beginning, but now I'm refocusing. Let's get to the Trump-Putin summit. And my thesis, and what a lot of people are missing, because there are a lot of people that say, oh, I'm glad that Trump is pursuing peace. At least he's pursuing peace and Biden didn't, which is something you can say. Like, you can say, I'm glad that Trump is talking to Russia, even though Biden did it. But you have to understand, and this is what a lot of people are missing their analysis, that Trump plays a very particular role for the ruling class. And we was like, man, wonder why they allowed Trump to win. This is why Donald Trump was allowed to win, not only to facilitate the technocratic fascist state, but to sell the Ukraine war to his MAGA base. The Ukraine war was falling in popularity, especially all over Europe. The right was questioning it. So Biden, his strategies are, the liberals already hate Russia because of Russiagate. Russia denied their queen, Hillary Clinton, her God-ordained role as president. So you don't have to do any imperial gymnastics or jiu-jitsu to trick liberals into supporting war. You guys have to understand that the war machine propaganda, it never stops, bro. They got people on the payroll that do nothing but figure out how to fucking sell war to the American people. So you think they didn't have a plan to sell the Ukraine war to the MAGA base who was starting to question it? The idea was to convince Trump to have the same hardline red lines as Joe Biden, and then blame Putin for not accepting them, and then go back to his MAGA base and say that they're being unreasonable. Like, EU leaders pressed Trump to defend their security interests. So they had a meeting before that Trump was supposed to meet. And they was like, we gotta set Trump down. We gotta let him know that, man, we can't really end this fucking war. This war is too important for our fucking gravy train. And Trump, in this meeting that he had with European leaders before their meeting with Russia, he apparently agrees with the Ukrainian red lines. Look, and this is the part of the story people are missing. You guys see the setup? that Donald Trump is engaging in? Trump agreed with Ukraine red lines with Europe before Putin summit. Oh, here we go. Here we fucking go. What do you mean you agree with Ukraine red lines? Why are you even meeting with Putin then? What is the fucking point of this meeting? The only thing that Russia is going to tell you, they're going to look at you in the face and tell you you are out of your fucking mind. Russia is winning. The West is getting hammered for this politically. The West is demilitarizing themselves, trying to maintain this war. Meanwhile, Trump is going to enter this meeting with Putin with the posture that he's going to uphold Ukrainian demands. Meanwhile, this is Russia. Russia will not make territorial concessions in Donetsk, Luhansk, Kyrgyz, and Zaporizhzhia regions. Territorial structures of Russia is enshrined in the country's constitution. So the question that everyone been asking for people who thought that Donald Trump, at least the question I've been asking for people who thought that Donald Trump was going to pursue peace, why is Donald Trump saying that Russia has to engage in land swaps, pretending that there has to be some sort of concessions? Because I know what you're probably asking right now. What exactly did Trump mean when he meant the Ukrainian red lines? And what is wild, and show you guys how Zelensky is a batshit crazy leader who only goes to prolong this war. This man drew up another victory plan. We covered his original victory plan, which showed that he was delusional and his end game was to promote and start World War III. I'm not playing. His victory plan a few years ago was Ukraine to get admitted to NATO. Article 5 activates. World War III. Profit. Like, that's what the fucking plan was. And now, before the Putin-Russia summit, Zelensky and Ukraine drew up another fucking key list of demands. And they are probably the most delusional list of demands we have ever seen since the start of this war, my friends. What is this? What is this? Russia must pay up to $1 trillion? Have you guys ever studied history? Name me one time in modern history where the party that is winning the war turns around and pays reparations. Meanwhile, Ukraine and Zelensky wants to make these demands as the key demands. Do these demands look like someone who is serious about achieving peace? Who has any sort of idea of the situation that they are in? Meanwhile, Donald Trump, his strategy is to uphold and promote these demands with Russia. Look at this. This is why I just show you guys. Donald Trump plans to, look, Trump agrees on Ukrainian red lines. Donald Trump is just like Joe Biden. He's just doing it differently. How does MAGA not understand that? If you want to MAGA people like, well, Jeffrey Epstein is just a distraction. We got to focus. He's fucking you guys over on Ukraine too. So if Trump agrees with the Ukrainian red lines, this shows that he is absolutely not engaging with the Putin meeting in good faith. The first point is what I explained earlier. So look, first a solid ceasefire, then an exchange of territories. What do you mean an exchange of territories? Either you can take the territories from Russia or you cannot. Why would Russia ever exchange territory to end a war that they're not even in a rush to end? They have complete control and they are winning this war. But Donald Trump and the EU wants to force Russia to give up land they have no reason to. Now let's go back to this receipt I showed earlier, where Russia has made it 100% clear that territorial concessions is off the table. So what is the West playing at? Is this meeting even real? No, it's not. This meeting is only designed to set up Putin as being unreasonable so he can turn around. And everyone is playing their role in this story. You have CNN and the liberal class like, oh my God, I can't believe Putin and Trump is becoming friends again. I can't believe that Donald Trump is undermining Ukraine. They're pretending that Donald Trump is actually serious. The Democrat media is pretending that Trump is serious. Fox News is pretending that Trump has Putin on the ropes. They're like, oh my God. They're like, Putin is meeting with Trump because he must be on the ropes, man. He must be desperate for a deal. Bro, the psyop that they are playing, this shit is a science, bro. Like, what I've been seeing over the last few days is crazy because no one is even on the same plane of reality about what's actually going on. Now look at this here, another tell that Trump is only meeting with Putin in order to escalate the war. Trump tells European leaders U.S. could provide security guarantees. We're back at the security guarantees. Biden said that he wanted security guarantees. This is what is the original red line. This is one of the reasons why Russia invaded Ukraine. It's to stop United States and European presence in Ukraine. Russia wants them all gone. So why would they agree to security guarantees? We have troops in Ukraine. This defeats the entire purpose of forcing Ukraine not to be in NATO is so they can be a buffer state. This defeats the entire purpose. Trump is beyond unserious. Like we are back to the Biden administration. Shit never changes. Unhindered ascension to NATO in the EU. This man Zelensky is truly on fucking drugs. I'm not exaggerating. This motherfucker is literally on drugs. He was high as a kite today. I didn't have to say. What if I can find the video? I thought everyone was tweeting about. Man, this man is out of his fucking mind. The ascension to NATO, the third bullet point, is probably the key fucking premise of this conflict. And Zelensky and Ukraine saying they must have this for peace. These are not serious people. But every single news organization is pretending that this is a serious conversation, that Donald Trump is serious about peace. You have people that to this day are saying that Putin and Donald Trump are close friends, that Trump is secretly working for Putin. Why is he dissing Zelensky? Trump is working hand to hand with NATO, Friedrich Merz, Keir Starmer, Ursula von der Leyen. They're working side by side and playing you motherfuckers and working you motherfuckers like pro wrestling. I'm a pro wrestling fan. I know a work when I see one. Motherfuckers who watch, we know a work. Motherfuckers, if you into pro wrestling, I know some fake ass shit when I see it, bro. I know a fucking work. This is a giant fucking work. And it's crazy that people don't see it. Let me continue the rest of these demands. No reduction of the army and no cessation of aid. So these are not serious. These are the core issues that Russia have. Meanwhile, Zelensky said, hey, yo, you know all those concerns that you guys have? We're not negotiating for peace for any of those points. We're not conceding anything. I know we're losing. I know we're being depopulated. I know our war effort only relies on the West. And we are relying on them to continue this war effort. But I promise to God we won't negotiate. Who do you guys think is telling Zelensky this? Because how does this position make any sense whatsoever? This doesn't make any sense. If you are the victim of a war, and this goes back to my initial statement at the very beginning of the stream, when have you ever seen someone who is a victim of war be so desperate not to end the conflict? You have Hamas, who is fighting a just war of liberation, where Hamas offered to drop their arms and disband if a Palestinian state was created. This is what they never tell you in the media. Hamas was literally willing to lay down their arms for a Palestinian state and for the end of the war. Hamas was willing to do that. You know, the people that say it's crazy and radical, and they're fighting a just war. Meanwhile, Ukraine, they want this war to continue. Why would that be? Why are these questions that no one in the NATO left
are asking. I know why this is. I'm just asking rhetorically. Let me find this article I know I can pull up real quick. Ukraine battle innovations reshape. Oh, Jesus Christ. I didn't even see this one. Look, this is why they want this war to continue. Ukrainian innovations are redefining the role of drones. There's an article I'm looking for in particular where they was explaining how the ruling class is using Ukraine as a test bed for battlefield innovations. What the fuck? Where the article at? Battlefield innovations. Ukraine. I know it's a CNN. Oh, here it is. This is the exact article I was referencing. Look, this is an article I've never seen before. Ukraine's battlefield innovations reshape global military thinking. This is the whole point, was to turn Ukraine into a country full of war guinea pigs, essentially. Damn, the CNN website is fucking horrible. I just now finally got this motherfucker. Here it is. How Ukraine became a test bed for Western weapons and battlefield innovation. This is what Bernie Sanders and AOC and the Western left supported. They supported Ukraine being used as a pet project by the military-industrial complex. And they wasn't, as you guys see with these headlines, they wasn't necessarily shy about this. I don't remember their name. I wish I did, but I remember there was an EU official, some military motherfucker that was explaining how they was like, hey, man, everyone on the right who's critical of this war saying that we get nothing out of it. You don't understand. We are sending Ukraine our weapons, which allowed us to reinvent and renew our weapon stockpiles. We have a completely modernized military because we gave everything to Ukraine, and that forced us to modernize our military. This is why we've seen such a boom in the military-industrial complex. You know how many times people on the right fucking explain outright, because the right don't have to do the shit that Joe Biden and Ro Khanna do. Like, Ro Khanna and Joe Biden and the liberal class, they pretend that fighting this war is a fight of democracy. We're going to stand up for democracy. We're going to stand up for human rights. So that's how they sell the war to dumb liberals. But right-wingers, they fucking love imperialism, war, death, murder. They don't have to do none of that bullshit. They simply say, hey, man, don't be a fucking pussy. We got to support this war because this is how we fucking test our new battlefield innovations and revamp our military. Another reason why Donald Trump approved of a $1 billion military-industrial complex boon. Military-industrial budget, sorry. A $1 trillion military budget. I found this video. I didn't see this video, actually. I'm kind of curious. Here Che Boyle. He's a friend of our show. Zelensky is now so desperate to avoid peace. He's telling Trump that Putin's trip to Alaska is a bluff. He's going to swallow the whole of... Oh, I want to hear the video. Actually, I haven't heard this video clip.
Told President Trump and all our European allies, Putin is bluffing. He's trying to push before the Alaska meeting on all directions of our front line. Russia.
Going back to my question. When have you ever seen a leader of a weaker country be this desperate to prevent peace? Who is he listening to? Who is giving him the direction to say this kind of stuff? You guys think the West will be okay? You guys think they haven't had any huddles? He is 100% getting the direction the West of saying this nonsense, which is only meant to expand the war.
Wants to occupy the whole of Ukraine. This is his wish.
He said that Putin wants to occupy the entirety of Ukraine. That has not been his demand. He's one to allow you to keep your little fucking puppet government. Anyway, let's continue.
And Putin is bluffing that sanctions is nothing and they don't work. In fact, sanctions are hitting Russian war economy hard. It's true. Russia has a lot of weapons, many times over than we have. Artillery, let's say, for three times more, but they sustaining 3 times more losses. And I said about it to our European friends, to President Trump, that Putin definitely does not want peace. He wants to occupy Ukraine. And we all understand that Putin cannot fool anyone. We need future and further.
So essentially, in a nutshell, he said, no, guys, we can't ever have peace ever. No negotiations. War forever. And there are people who actually think this man is not a tyrant. Once again, I always got to pick on the ridiculous social democrats. People like Bernie Sanders, Sam said, these people have no fucking criticism of Zelensky. They find it reprehensible that we criticize this man. He is probably the greatest sellout leader, one of the most failed leaders in modern history. He led his people down a war and got an entire generation wiped out. Ukraine will never be the same again, and he wants never-ending war, despite the fact that his own people imposed say they want peace. Go back to my point in the beginning. Why do you think that is? That is because Zelensky wants to stay in power forever. So everyone is reacting to the ridiculous proposal that Zelensky is making. This is why, like, Putin is like, why should I even talk to this unelected clown? Not only does Zelensky want Putin to pay reparations, he wants Putin to return Crimea. It's unbelievable that this man has not been fucking removed from power. He's batshit crazy. Exactly how the West likes him. And despite how crazy he is, Donald Trump is 100% on board. I'll show you guys the red lines that Ukraine was making. Now let's revisit this headline so you guys can see how fucking ridiculous this is. You guys see how Donald Trump is setting this up as a failure from the very beginning. Trump agrees on Ukraine red lines. What do you mean you agree with Ukraine's red line? Why are we even meeting? Why are we even doing this? Because Donald Trump warns Russia of severe consequences if Putin doesn't agree to end the Ukraine war. Here it is, guys. The MAGA psyop. So now, after Donald Trump supports Zelensky's horrific, delusional, as this person says, utterly incoherent demands, he's then going to turn around and tell the media that if Russia doesn't accept at least a few of these demands and end the war, there's going to be severe consequence. And then Trump is going to ramp up tensions against Russia. Once again, you guys see how the ratchet effect works? There was people who thought that Donald Trump was going to de-escalate with with Russia. Now do you guys see why I don't give Trump credit for at least talking to Putin? That's what many people said. He isn't he better than Biden because at least he's talking to Putin. As my thesis, like I laid out in the beginning of the show, this is Trump's way of selling the war, which is different than Biden's. It's more complicated. Biden didn't have to do anything like this. Trump does. The job of these politicians at all time is to sell war. And now look at who's reporting this. You guys see how this fucking WWE production works? Now you have CNN. Here the CNN segment. Trump warns of severe consequences if Putin doesn't agree to end Ukraine war. They saying these marks up. And we've been doing this for a few years like me, man. It's crazy when you see these same patterns play out. That's why it's almost humorous to me to see this. Let's watch a little bit of this.
President Trump setting the stage for a potential second meeting with Russia's Vladimir Putin if the summit on Friday goes well. He's also issuing an urgent new warning as they prepare to meet face-to-face. Listen to this.
Will Russia face any consequences if Vladimir Putin does not agree to stop the war after your meeting on Friday?
Yes, they will.
What will the
There
consequences
will be
be?
consequences.
Sanctions, tariffs?
There will be, I don't have to say, there will be very severe consequences.
No specifics, but tough talk that comes just hours after speaking with Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky and other European leaders this morning. Zelensky says he wants an immediate ceasefire before a peace deal can be negotiated. For Ukraine, peace cannot come soon enough. Russian forces have been launching a brutal offensive to claw territory away, and the UN says that July saw the highest number of civilians killed in Ukraine since the first months of Russia's full-scale invasion back in 2022. Let's take you now live to Kyiv with CNN's Nick Payton-Walsh. Nick, is there hope in Ukraine that this time, somehow, negotiations with Russia will be different?
I think there's a desperate need for peace, but I think there's little hope that Russian President Vladimir Putin genuinely wants that. That has been the undertone of everything that Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has been saying over the past days, and borne out by Russian advances, Ukrainian intelligence about Russia preparing for further military maneuvers. Look, we heard from Zelensky today reaffirming that if any deal is struck, they do not want to give up, or they will not give up parts of the Donetsk region that Russia is now fiercely fighting for, that it's not.
Zelensky will not give up the Donetsk region. You guys think this is someone who's serious for peace? Here's Friedrich Merz, the Blackrock Prime Minister of Germany, who rejected any agreement that includes any territories to be given to Russia. Borders may not be changed through violence. And this is what every single European leader is saying. So essentially, every single leader in Europe, their position is, we will not end this war against Russia until Ukraine gets the Donbass back, gets Luhansk. This is a crazy position that is unreasonable. You essentially calling for never-ending war. Are you going to fight to the last Ukrainian? And they said they're down to do that. European leaders have put pressure on Zelensky to lower the recruitment age even more. And after kidnapping people out the streets, after losing an entire generation of Ukrainian men, I've seen so many videos like this. Shout out to our friend Che Boyles for highlighting this again. Because this is what the Western media would never tell you. No one in the NATO left will ever tell you this. No one who supports the Ukraine proxy war will tell you this. They will say stupid shit that is designed to get you to convince people to support in war. They will say, "Oh, Russia has been exposed as weak. Russia has been exposed as weak. Hey, don't you know Ukraine was winning? Oh man, if only we got more aid to Ukraine, they could be winning this war." Complete nonsense that's only designed, like the West always selling the idea that they're successful at war, the idea that we had this great military. The idea is to convince you that they're winning so you will support the war. So they never explain to you guys how Ukrainian men are being pulled off the streets. There are massive desertion in the Ukrainian military, low morale. You had 200,000 Ukrainian soldiers who abandoned their post. So you understand the position of the West, the position of Bernie Sanders, Lindsey Graham, and all these people essentially is that these people have to have a gun pointed to their head to fight to the last Ukrainian. All these motherfuckers have to die so Zelensky can have the Donbass region, so that Ukraine can be a NATO state. Do these look like armed trained killers who are ready to defeat Russia? All these sound is really needed on this. But these are the people who are being accepted as Ukrainian soldiers. I've seen pictures of Ukrainians, these people, they increased the military age, lowered the draft age. They got fucking senior citizens damn near. People with arthritis on the battlefield. No offense to anyone who have arthritis, but that just shows how down bad Ukraine is. You had liberals that in the beginning of this war, they were posting pictures of Ukrainian women on the battlefield. They're like, yeah, you have Ukrainian women defending their land. See, women can fight wars too. This is liberal feminism. So the people who actually care about Ukraine are the people who want this conflict to end in the first place. The people in the NATO left, the progressives, and the reason why I say this is because this is the left with power in the West. This is the entirety of the left in Europe, the entirety of the Green parties in Europe. All the left organizations in Europe support the NATO proxy war. This is the standard position, is that we got to support this madness forever and sacrifice Ukrainians for the honor of NATO. And then they think they're the ones who pro-Ukraine. Isn't that interesting? All right, man. I need to get to my next story. I'll do 2 stories tonight. That first story was a doozy. About an hour in. I will cover Bernie Sanders and liberal Zionism next. Let me get my right spot. I think this will be our next story. I'm gonna start here. I was debating where I'm gonna start here because this is a viral clip, and this is hilarious. We're gonna discuss Jewish supremacy once again, and the ADL. Remember, the teachers union was forced, and it was pressured by 400 Jewish organizations to accept the ADL as a legitimate source for education, as a legitimate source for anti-Semitism. And the ADL, which just like AIPAC should be lobbied as a foreign agent, lobbying organization, the ADL is a fascist organization full of Jewish supremacists who advocate for the censorship of Americans. The ADL went after me, and they were explaining how RBN is anti-Semitic, and that's when they realized they fucked up because I had a blast with that. So now they're like, "Fuck, we can't fucking cancel them motherfuckers. The one thing we do is help them." But these are the people who convinced a ton of people that there is an anti-Semitism wave, even though they was counting anti-Israel protests, anti-Israel sentiment as being anti-Semitic. And then you have dummies on the left that were like, "Oh, do you know that anti-Semitism is actually real?" Even though these people straight up tell you to your face that they're making this shit up. That they'll tell you to your face that they believe you're an anti-Semite because you're critical of Israel, but people are going along with this. Another thing that they will say, just like all claims of anti-Semitism, being anti-Semite used to be like raging hatred of Semitic people, includes people with Jewish origins. It will be the people who deny the Holocaust. They'll be, "Oh, you're an anti-Semite, you denying the Holocaust. Oh, you hate Jewish people, you must be an anti-Semite." Now, and this is the definition that leftists accept for some reason. An anti-Semite is now someone who just simply say stuff that Jewish people are uncomfortable with. Like, once again, when I say "fuck you in your tiny hat," that's rude to say. I wouldn't like to be rude to people, but that's not anti-Semitic. You just don't like me saying that. That's just me making fun of your stupid ass beliefs. The same way anti-Semitism now is essentially them not liking things you say. It's also, whenever you notice, very clear and obvious observations. Like, for example, if we make the very obvious observation that many Zionist Jewish people care way more about the state of Israel than American citizens, that was the number one thing people were like, "Oh, you must be anti-Semitic. What are you saying? They have dual loyalty?" Before I get to this video, let me explain to you guys something. This is the greatest trick they ever told you was labeling the truth as anti-Semitism. You guys know what AIPAC actually is? Like, AIPAC is not some shadowy Washington organization. It's actually very transparent corruption. AIPAC is an organization of 5 million Zionists in the United States who they don't donate money to mutual aid. They don't donate money to the homelessness crisis. They're not donating to food banks. You want to know what they donate their money to? They donate their money to AIPAC. So AIPAC will then buy corrupt politicians. There's so many Jewish Americans, and I know this because AIPAC brag about it, how so many Jewish Americans don't really pay attention to politics. They will say stuff like this in their eye. They will say, Jewish Americans, you don't have to worry about paying attention to politics. The only thing you have to do is just give us a little bit of money and we will handle the politics for you. And that is what many Zionist Jewish Americans, that is what they do. So AIPAC is an organization of 5 million traitors who they're not fighting for you to have health care. They're not fighting for the liberation of the working class. They're fighting for Israeli influence of the United States. So how is it anti-Semitic if I was to look at those 5 million people who spend money to corrupt our politics and say you have dual loyalty and you're not loyal to this country, you're loyal to Israel? How the fuck did they manage to convince people that that's anti-Semitic? You guys see how I take the hardline stand that I will absolutely, under no circumstance, ever legitimize this anti-Semitism bullshit. Because they know it's bullshit. Here's Jonathan Greenblatt committing an act of anti-Semitism against himself. Admitting that he's an Israeli.
Think about this. The national symbol, let's say, of Hezbollah is a rifle. That's what's on their flag. The national symbol of Iran, the Islamic Republic of Iran, is a sword. That's what's on their flag. The national symbol of Israel is the shield. It's the Star of David. The symbol of our people is not a weapon of war. It's an...
Our people? You guys see? Our people? I thought you was an American organization, sir. Jonathan Greenblatt realized he fucked up, and he realized he said something that might fuck up his status as someone who don't have to declare themselves as a hostile foreign agent. And he realizes it's a mistake. So let's listen.
The symbol of our people is not a weapon of war. It's an instrument of defense. The thing that most embodies our entire ethos is not harming others. It's, again, creating a better world. This is fundamental to our tradition for thousands of years. And so the idea that our national anthem would be the Hatikva, would be the hope. It's not.
Our national anthem?
I should say our. It's the Israel's national anthem. So the idea
that's him realizing he just fucked up real bad.
Would be the Hatikva, would be the hope. I should say our. It's the Israel's national anthem. So the idea that our national anthem would be the Hatikva, would be the hope. I should say our. It's the Israel's national.
This man actually committed an act of anti-Semitism against himself. Meanwhile, like, people will call you anti-Semitic if you will say these people are foreign invaders who want to subvert American democracy to serve the interests of Jewish supremacy, when they just lay it out all the time. Even the liberal Zionists are extremely bad. Now, this is get to one of the stories I covered in my hotspot video, our second story, main story of the night, where Bernie had this interview with Dana Bash. You know, he's staying in solidarity with his fellow genocidal Zionists. Bernie Sanders will never do interviews with the independent media that strokes his ego. The Bernie Sanders cult don't even have access to Bernie Sanders. Kyle Kalinske called Bernie Sanders his daddy. He's like, Bernie Sanders, Daddy Bernie. Despite the fact that Kyle Kalinske called Bernie Sanders his daddy, Bernie Sanders kicked his ass off his show. That's how much Bernie Sanders hate people that are not part of the elite institutions. If you're not an elitist, if you're not part of the ruling class, he despises you. He don't want anything to do with you. So he's chumming it up with his Zionist friend because he ain't independent media, but he loves Zionists like Dana Bash. He loves himself some Jake Tapper. He loves Anderson Cooper. That's that class solidarity, that class loyalty. And this is him and Dana Bash chopping it up. And Dana Bash ask him a question that should immediately get her channel, or I should say get her fired. I'm about to say channel pulled. It should immediately get her fired. So before this, Bernie Sanders was talking about how the Netanyahu government was murdering Palestinians. And immediately afterwards, Dana Bash, in response, anyway, I'll let it play. Asked a ridiculous question.
You have been critical of Benjamin Netanyahu for a very long time, but I want to ask you just about something that sometimes gets lost, especially right now when this debate is so emotional and so raw, which is, especially on the left, which is take Netanyahu out of this. Do you believe in the notion of Israel as a Jewish state?
Yeah.
Bro, what the fuck did we just watch? What the? So yes, Bernie Sanders support Jewish supremacy. Now, for the second time, I skipped ahead, but for the last few minutes, Bernie Sanders was describing the war crimes of Netanyahu, because, you know, Bernie Sanders would never call it the war crimes of Israel. It's the Netanyahu government. It was to the point where even Dana Bash was like, hey, motherfucker, can you put Netanyahu to the side for a second? Even Dana Bash was like, can you stop fucking talking about Netanyahu? Take Netanyahu to the side for a second. Do you support our right to be a Jewish state? Now, if you are a Jewish state and a land where Palestinians should have a right to return, how do you maintain your status as a Jewish state? If you're in the Middle East, one of the most diverse regions in the world, the only way you can maintain a Jewish state, and Israelis are open about this, you must have an apartheid society. You must manage your population in a way, and this is what Israel admits, to create a Jewish majority. So if you say you support a Jewish state, that's you inherently supporting apartheid. Since when has it ever been the left position that we support religious ethno-states? The progressive accept Palestinian movement is the only left movement you will ever find in the United States. We're supporting ethno-states. Religious ethno-states is considered a reasonable position? Bernie Sanders has revealed himself as a fascist because of this answer. That's my position. And think about how batshit crazy Dana Bash is. Because before this, Bernie Sanders going to a spiel about how the Netanyahu government was. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna show you guys. Okay, he does a spill where he condemned Hamas. Now I'm gonna show you guys this clip in this context because Bernie Sanders is gonna explain how Netanyahu committed all these crimes against the Palestinian people. But then Dana Bash's first question after this is, "Hey, I know you were talking about Israel murdering people. Yeah, I know Israel is committing a genocide, using starvation as a tool war. But hey, real quick, do you think they should exist as a Jewish state?" That's a crazy fucking follow-up question. So let me show you guys the clip with some more context to it, just to show you guys how fucking crazy that question for Dana Bash even is to ask in that moment.
Hamas is a war criminal, and the United States
Hamas is a war criminal. Let me go back a little bit more.
Who has waged an all-out war, committed it's war crimes. They are war crimes. Netanyahu is a war criminal, just as the guy who was head of Hamas is a war criminal. And the United States taxpayers should not be funding Netanyahu.
You have been...
He didn't say the United States taxpayers shouldn't be funding Israel. He said the United States taxpayers shouldn't be funding Netanyahu. It's not the state of Israel that is guilty of committing genocide. It's Netanyahu who's guilty of war crimes. Bernie wants to set up a fucking fall man and to have Israel continue as a Jewish supremacist state where the entirety of his war cabinet, the entirety of the genocidal society continues to exist. Why? Why would anyone support a country who used starvation as a tool of war? Why would anyone support a country where they rape Palestinian children to death, where they murder journalists? They literally burn children alive, bomb hospitals. Like the idea of red lines of war, that concept is over because of Israel. So what kind of psychopath was accept an existence of a state with those kind of crimes? You know who does that? Someone who is a Jewish supremacist. Because the Jewish supremacists really believe that they have the right to do whatever they want to anyone else. At the end of the day, if you're an enemy of the Jews, you deserve to die. That's why Bernie Sanders wants Hamas to die. Hamas is an organization filled up around 85% of orphans, people who had their parents murdered by Israel. And Bernie Sanders pretends to care about Palestinians, but he wants every single person who actually resists their criminal occupier. He wants every single one of them dead. You guys understand? He's a genocidal Zionist. He is not the best among us. He is our enemy. He couldn't help himself. Of course, he had to go into Hamas. That nonsense. But I'm gonna show you guys more of Bernie Sanders' answer, and it's not good because it actually gets worse. So here's more. Here's the clip again.
Is 100% on a Netanyahu government who has waged an all-out war, committed it's war crimes. They are war crimes. Netanyahu is a war criminal, just as the guy who was head of Hamas is a war criminal. And the United States taxpayers should not be funding Netanyahu.
You have been critical of Benjamin Netanyahu for a very long time, but I want to ask you just about something that sometimes gets lost, especially right now when this debate is so emotional and so raw, which is, especially on the left, which is take Netanyahu out of this.
You guys see how even Dana Bash and the establishment get annoyed? He's like, bro, will you shut the fuck? Take Netanyahu out of this. Even she had to. Even Dana Bash was like, bro, will you shut up about Netanyahu, bro? Will you tell the truth about how you really feel? Even they know at the end of the day it's a cop-out. But anyway, let's get back to the question. And I will show more of Bernie Sanders' answer.
Do you believe in the notion of Israel as a Jewish state?
Yeah, I do, for a lot of reasons. But right now, what Netanyahu has done, what the Israeli government has done, is become almost a pariah state. And I fear very much that Israel now is looked in very, very unfavorable light by people all over the world, not just in the United States.
So Bernie Sanders' concern right now, as Palestinian children are starving, as we are entering an era of Zio-fascism, where free speech doesn't exist in the UK and Germany, where they're cracking down on Palestinian protests. We're seeing dead babies everywhere. The concern that Bernie Sanders has is the reputation of the genocidal state of Israel. He is worried about Israel becoming a pariah state. But this is the issue that's so raw and so real for Dana Bash. You guys see why Bernie Sanders and company sitting down with his fellow Zionists? This is a Jewish supremacist. Liberal Zionism is not going to cut it no more. Progressive against accept Palestine does not cut it. Either you support from the river to the sea, a free Palestine, sanctions against Israel, or you are not serious. This is exactly why you will see Bernie Sanders. He does this all the time. He lectures the left because his job is to keep the left pro-Israel. And he will lecture people like Ilhan Omar. He lectured Ilhan Omar. He got upset with the progressive left for calling Israel an apartheid state. Look, progressives should tone down calling Israel an apartheid state. This is Bernie Sanders. Bitch out to the squirrel for highlighting this again. The same way remember when he had a conversation with Zoran Mamdani with Bernie Sanders, pulled Zoran to the side like, hey man, I need you to chill with how you talk about Israel, bro. This is who Bernie Sanders always been. I think this is the article I'm looking for regarding Zoran. Look, what Bernie Sanders told Zoran Mamdani about anti-Semitism. There are people who still believe in this guy. There are people who still promote Bernie Sanders, bro. Like, this is the guy that like Hasan Piker will have on. AOC, who vote for the Iron Dome. Hasan Piker will have them on, rehabilitate them. And they were like, Nick, why y'all go after our best champions? Why don't you go after Bernie Sanders? You know the Bernie Sanders is the best among us. Now you guys see why people like Hasan Piker. Can you imagine being a socialist and them being discomfortable with you? They're discomfortable with this guy because he's probably one of the most successful Democratic sheepdogs of all time. The Hasan Piker or Zoran Mamdani. Big Z's the man. He's great. He's going to implement woke Sharia in New York. Very excited about all of that. All the buildings have to face Mecca, that kind of good stuff. You guys see they giving Hasan Piker and the Bernie Sanders left magazine spots. The same way they gave Cory Bush a book deal, bro. And if you're wondering, hey, Nick, why are you worried about these people? Why are you worried about these people? Have you seen our numbers? You guys realize that Hasan Piker has around 40,000 people who watch him like every day, like live. Like these are the people who are shaping the opinions of the left. These are the people that is acknowledged as the left. Like, remember Hasan Piker? I wonder if I can find that again. When he was at the DSA convention, and he had this huge line. Just so you guys this is not bullshit. Look at the line he had. This is the guy who played video games with AOC. He's the guy who still believes in Bernie Sanders to this day. But he tells you to vote for Joe Biden. He's all for Zoran Mamdani. At the end of the day, they don't give a fuck if you say to the river, to the sea. They don't give a fuck if you support Palestine. If you tell people to support the Democratic Party at the end of the day, they don't give a fuck. And the only reason I'm bringing this up because this man is infesting the mind of young leftists with his social democratic bullshit. Look at his line. And this is another representative of the DSA, Emma Vigeland, millionaire, prep school kid. This is the DSA left. The DSA, where 40% of their members voted for Zionism, 70% of their members voted against a one-state solution.
This is Emma at the tour conference.
Yes.
This is her tour conference.
Look, I'm a dues-paying member of DSA. I encourage everybody to sign up to DSA if you haven't already. Although if they're watching your stream, they probably have.
I think we got.
We got photos.
We
Oh
got-
shit! All right.
This is the DSA. Look at these motherfuckers a rock star. So if you wonder why I always criticize Hasan Piker, it had nothing to do with personal animosity. I'm flabbergasted that he's a thing. Like we can't put our head in the sand and pretend this motherfucker's not the biggest leftist streamer in the world because he is. Look at the line at the DSA convention of the people who want to meet Hasan Piker, the person who played video games with AOC, the person who advocated for people to vote for Joe Biden. Let's see if I can find a clip. I had a clip of that somewhere. Let's see what I can find. Oh, here it is. Here it is. If you want to know why Bernie Sanders is comfortable doing interviews with Hasan Piker, why GQ magazines is in the New York Times is doing softball interviews with Hasan Piker. People are like, what? How are they doing that when Hasan Piker has supported Palestinian resistance? Which you would never hear me say Hasan Piker is like bad on Palestine. The problem is he take the issue of Palestine and then use it to sheepdog people back into the Democratic Party. So why is Hasan Piker allowed to be based on Palestine, but he's promoted by the establishment? This shit right here is why.
Advantage. And the polls reflect that. And yeah, it looks like, I hope Joe Biden is going to defeat Donald Trump in November. So unless he does something truly disastrous, Joe Biden, that is.
The biggest decision.
Socialists endorsing and supporting Joe Biden. Remember, Hasan Piker is the guy who voted for AOC, who voted for anti-Semitism resolutions, voted for the Iron Dome. He played video games with her and endorses her. But he says he doesn't trust Jill Stein. What? So Jill Stein is an anti-Zionist Jew who put her body on the line and was brutally arrested by the police protesting against the genocide in Israel. And Hasan Piker refused to have her on because he said he doesn't trust her. He repeated the AOC smear. Remember when AOC said that Dr. Jill Stein is predatory? Hasan Piker followed up in coordination with AOC, with Sam Cedar and Bernie Sanders, and then smeared. I didn't have to say. Wonder if I can find it. Where he said, "I will never have Jill Stein on. I don't trust her," because he didn't want Jill Stein to hurt Joe Biden, which will later be Kamala Harris's numbers, because he has this massive audience, and he don't want to introduce his massive audience to third-party options. So that's why he worked backwards from his conclusion in order to explain why he don't support third party. He's one of those people that say, well, if you gotta be pragmatic, man, third parties won't win, man. We gotta push the Democratic Party to the left, man. You know, the same strategy that DSA has been doing for decades. All these old school Democratic socialists been doing the same strategy for 40 years. They have gray hairs and they waste their life without accomplishing anything for the working class. And Hasan Piker is a young man who wants to do the same goddamn thing. You motherfuckers infiltrated the Democratic Party, tried to shift it to the left, and we got a genocide as the result of that. And they don't course correct. They still he's supporting Zuron. He's supporting Democrats to this day. He is to this day a giant AOC defender. Which is why they hate our guts. Which is why Hasan Piker smeared us. I didn't even know who this guy was. Remember he came out and he dissed the General Strike Summit because we was advocating for action outside the Democratic Party. And then in a massive coordinated smear job by, you had Vaush, you had Hasan Piker, you had all these people like, oh my God, look at these grifters. Look at these grifters doing a General Strike Summit. Well, you think a general strike is going to work? That was Hasan Piker a few years ago. And now, after we popularized the idea of a general strike, and now everyone talking about general strikes, after smearing this, Hasan Piker came out years later. It was like, you know what? I support a general strike. We need a general strike. These people they smear us, talk a ton of shit about us, and then steal our ideas. That's what Hasan Piker did with no shame. Because he was upset because we were telling people not to support AOC, not to spend money on politicians, and spend it on strike actions and mutual aid. And once they realized it was right, they realized we was right, they didn't jack our entire swagger and refused to apologize for smearing us to this day. Some real TYT shit. That's why he janked your cousin. This is why he's promoted by the establishment. Do you guys think he get a GQ magazine slot unless he attacks RBN when he's given the order? If you guys think we're a small channel now, we was even a smaller channel then. Nigga, we had like 13,000 subscribers at the time of the General Strike Summit. And you had the largest streamer in the world that attacked us. You have Vosh that attacked us. You tell me there's not some sort of coordination? When you've been in this left space, when you've been organizing on the ground, when you have a channel, you see these patterns, guys, and it becomes extremely suspicious. The same people that always attack RBN are the same people who always concede to the Democratic Party. And remember, actually, before I show this is the guy I'm just talking about, Hasan Piker. Once again, I'm not punching down. I'm not just attacking a random person. This is someone who has a ton of clout and influence on the left. I'm not just doing it they're just doing a call. I am looking at the top dog. I'm looking at the person who is influencing young minds and turning them into shit libs. And it's this guy. No offense. Only slightly personal because you attacked us first. But you guys see why this is a giant problem? Look at the people look at the amount of people who call themselves socialists. Like this is not like picked out of fucking a Democratic neoliberal convention. This is DSA. And look, all the people who love it, like if you're like, oh, Hasan is just full of bots. These are real fucking people. Look at the damn line. This is the Hasan Piker left, the NATO left I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think we got it.
Oh, we got photos.
We
Oh,
got-
shit. All right.
No, it's fine. No, stay. I'm saying, I was pointing to that to be like, no, there's a lot of DSA 2 signing members here.
I know. But if you're on stream and you haven't done it yet, like I don't do much, like what do you call canvassing or any other work like that. But I do.
We know you don't. We fucking. You think you had to tell us that you don't do work on the fucking ground?
Call canvassing or any other work like that. But I do pay my dues, and everybody should because it helps organize.
Hell yeah. How was your birthday conference?
So this is the DSA left. This is the NATO left. And I'm only doing this because if you think I'm just attacking a straw man left, absolutely not, guys. Like when I talk about the dumb left and you guys see me dismantle them, you must understand that these motherfuckers are way more influential than me right now. And if you wonder why the US left is in the position we are in right now, it's because of that reality. These are the people who run the DSA. And I already did a stream on this earlier, so I don't want to harp too much on this. But I explained how DSA is an organization full of Zionists. It's an organization that was founded by CIA members and Jewish supremacists. And this is the organization that Hasan Piker promotes. So Hasan Piker and Bernie Sanders, they want you to distrust Jill Stein. They want you to distrust RBN. Distrust those stupid activists. You don't want to trust those stupid poors. Donate to DSA, which was founded by the CIA, that is ran by rich children. Those are the people you need support. Distrust the working class. Trust the elites. This is the message of the dumb left, the real dumb left. And I say this because I'm taking that term from them. They will turn around and call the working class the dumb left. And one of the greatest acts of classism you will ever see. Millionaires like Sam Cedar, he's famous for that. Sam Cedar, they was obsessed with destroying the tankies. You know, the communists and the left who make the true left look bad. They will call it the dumb left as they believe every single bullshit lie from the CIA. And they're supporting the Ukraine proxy war. As they're supporting the overthrow of Syria. And they supporting the destruction of Libya. As they are wrong about fucking everything. As they fail to achieve any victory for the working class, they have the nerve to punch down and call people a part of the working class. If you don't have a degree, you are a part of the dumb left. And the funniest thing about it, and this is why we claimed it, they are the dumbest among us. It's their job to create an ineffective, dumb, weak left in the United States. The left in the United States that will support Kamala fucking Harris. I need to find an Emma Vigeland. Emma Vigeland was literally propping up Andrew Cuomo, bro. I didn't have to say. I showed you guys it before though, where he was like, I think, oh, here it is. Oh, I can't believe I found it that fast. Here it is. Like here's the dumb left. This is part of the DSA left, bro. And this is literally weeks after the nursing home scandal, by the way. And here's Emma Vigeland, the queen of back takes. There's no denying it. Andrew Cuomo has done a very good job, especially rhetorically in this crisis. The way he's communicating is informative and politically savvy. It just plays. He demolished Trump as nominee if DNC leadership was willing to do the gutsy thing. You guys see why she's on MSNBC now? I see her all the time. She's on MSNBC all the time now. You guys see why MSNBC loves her? You guys see why Fox News is willing to debate Majority Report? They love to elevate dumb leftists. They are all over MSNBC now. I was trying to see if I can find it. I don't know. I don't have to show the clip. Look, here's just an example. I just searched Emma MSNBC. This is what I just found. This is why she is the fucking left representative on CNN.
Creates political problems for them. We have to be able to take that opportunity. And I mean, as I was saying in the earlier segment,
it doesn't matter what you were saying. That's not the point of the segment. But you got to see how they elevate people who, and this is the whole idea of the suitable left. This is the DSA, Democratic Socialists. CIA infiltration to create a suitable anti-communist left in the United States. So I am explaining to you guys, when I do these segments attacking Bernie Sanders, when I do these segments attacking Zoran Mamdani, I'm not just doing it for clicks. A lot of people think I am. I'm doing it because this is a gigantic problem. Why do you guys think when people are like the U.S. left is pathetic? When you look at the wins that the Chinese working class won, when you look at what the Russian working class won, when you see what's going on, when you see the homelessness crisis non-existent in the DPRK, when you see the revolutionary victories of the working class around the world and compare it to the United States, and you wonder why the United States left? Because people just love to diss the United States left vaguely. Oh yeah, the U.S. left is shit. Why? This is what we dive into on RBN. These are the uncomfortable conversations which got me blacklisted from the DSA left in the first place. Like this guy. I mean, this guy, he's like all these DSA people, he's one of the people who hates my guts. All these people hate my guts. From DSA. Like, bro, DSA has Nick RBN derangement syndrome out of their mind. If you're on Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. And DSA is such a deeply Zionist infiltrated organization. And this is what one of the DSA, I don't know what the fuck he is. He like, I see him take pictures all the a DSA influencer. He got a lot of fucking followers. Here he is explaining how they couldn't purge Zionists because he saw our criticism. Remember when I was like, bro, if there was a single fucking Zionist in RBN, they were getting purged immediately. Democratic socialists, they're like, we are socialists. We're not authoritarian, so we will allow ourselves to be infiltrated. You can't kick out infiltrators. Kicking out infiltrators is authoritarian. So they're explaining how, because they saw our critiques, I explain how I don't give a fuck if you think it's authoritarian or not. You expel Zionists, period. And the pressure that not only just the RBN left, because everyone went after their ass after this. Now they are explaining like, hey man, we can't purge Zionists from our organizations because it will completely destabilize it. Look, purging everyone who voted against R22 in my chapter delegation will remove a co-chair, both electoral co-chairs, 2 other experienced comrades in electoral work, a comrade from comms, and one of the co-chairs of our labor committees. Do you have any idea how much chaos that will create? I don't want you guys to pick on this guy, by the way. Please don't pick on this guy. But this is an hilarious submission. If kicking out Zionists from your organization completely destabilize it, that is an organization you got to tear down and rebuild from the ground up. And doesn't this show that DSA is a top-down organization? Like, DSA have hundreds of members, right? Isn't it thousands? I don't know how many members they got. How many DSA members? How many? Bro, tens of thousands? That's crazy. That's crazy. I know their membership dropped a lot. So I don't know how much those numbers are accurate. But they said 70,000 members. I don't think that number is accurate. But either way, they got thousands of members. So out of thousands of members, thousands of socialists, you have no one that can fill these positions. You have no one that you're willing to trust to fill these positions. Why is DSA so distrustful of grassroots activists taking positions that Zionists and DSA have? Yeah, 90K something in 2021. They had 100K at one point. Now they broke. Like, doesn't that show how fucking incompetent they are? They had over 100,000 people, record amount of fundraising after the rise of Bernie Sanders, and now they're broke. And they funneled thousands of members. But anyway, I think, do I have anything else? I think I'm pretty much done. Yeah, I think I can wrap it here. We have 90 minutes in. Pretty good for a solo stream. I was expecting Sarah, but Sarah had an emergency. We will have her back on. So I think I'll hard wrap here. I have no need for me to continue to ramble on. Let me read a few super chats and then let's get out here. Bernie thinks he's Eugene Deb, but he's more Michael. Yeah, I read the super chat before. That's funny. Thank you for that. Another $10. Look at how cool Bernie is with indigenous genocide for a Jewish state. Absolutely. What kind of mess will he be? Will he back against indigenous people here in the future? That's a question you can ask for all Zionists. Thank you for the $5. These bread tubers need to get on Bernie's wrinkly sack. Yeah, dude. People still love Bernie to this day. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I know he probably replaced his following, but the fact that there are still DSA members who like Bernie, I see it all the time. I'll critique Bernie, and people are like, hey, Nate, why do you keep going so hard against Bernie? What do you mean? He's the fucking enemy. Like, I still get those comments every once in a while. Anyway, I put up. Hey, I think this last one. I think we can wrap up here. I appreciate you guys sticking in with me. I'll be back on Friday. Shama Sawant will be joining us for our second episode. We'll take our third episode of Nick and Shama on Friday. Make sure you guys support our Patreon. I have the link in the description. Make sure you guys like and share. Hope you guys enjoy the stream, man. Have a good rest of your day. Peace out, y'all.